They say some moments just live in your bones, long after they're over, long after you pretend they didn't matter. Some moments don't shout. They whisper. In the middle of the night, when everything is still, when your chest is quiet, but your heart won't shut up. I used to think people exaggerated when they said a single decision could change everything. But I know better now, because I remember the way he looked at me, the way he leaned in a little too close, the way he said, "Meet me upstairs," like it was harmless, like it was nothing, like it wasn't going to rearrange something deep inside me. I didn't ask why. I didn't even hesitate. I just went. And I swear, if I had known there would be two more waiting when I opened that door, I don't know if I'd have gone back downstairs. Or walked in faster. That's the worst part. Not that it happened, but that a part of me wanted it to. I can still feel the carpet under my feet. That cheap hallway carpet that always clung to dust. I remember the low music playing from the upstairs room, not loud enough to sing along to, just loud enough to feel something happening behind the walls. It was warm that day, uncomfortably warm. The kind of heat that makes your clothes feel tight, your thoughts feel heavier. My husband had just left to grab more drinks. I was half watching the kids from the kitchen window, half listening to the laughter outside. And then his coworker, walked in with that smirk. The kind of smirk that says, "I see you." The kind I hadn't gotten from my husband in I don't know how long. He handed me a cup. Didn't say much. Just looked me dead in the eye and said, "Come upstairs. I want to show you something." And something in me stood up without thinking, like it had been waiting for an excuse. I tell myself I didn't know what I was doing, that I was just curious, that I thought maybe he meant a new speaker setup, or some dumb guy joke, but no. I knew the second he didn't follow me right away. The second I turned that corner at the top of the stairs and the light from the room spilled out across the hallway floor like a secret. I walked slower. My mouth was dry. My palms sweaty, stupid, shaking. And when I pushed the door open, I saw them. Two men. Not just him. Two others. Sitting, waiting, smiling, like they knew something I didn't. There's a moment where your brain tries to catch up with your body. You freeze, but your heart races. You feel exposed, but no one's touched you. You want to run, but you don't even know why. That's what it felt like. And in that moment, with three faces looking at me like I belonged there, I didn't know if I should be scared or flattered. This isn't a story I tell to feel better. This isn't one of those "here's what I learned" kind of stories. This is a confession. Because I haven't told anyone. Not a soul. Not even my best friend. Not even the mirror. And it's been sitting in my chest like a storm that never gets to break. I don't tell this to be forgiven. I tell it because silence is killing me. And maybe, just maybe, someone out there has stood in a hallway like mine, staring at a door that should have stayed shut. And maybe you didn't open it. Or maybe you did. But you still think about it, don't you? Subscribe to Heartfelt Tales Unfold if you believe some truths deserve to be spoken, even when they're hard to hear. Even when they don't have a clean ending. Even when they still hurt. Because sometimes, the things we bury the deepest are the ones that need the most air. I'm 35. Married. 2 kids. Work-from-home job that barely pays attention to me, just like him. Most days, I wake up early, pack lunches, fold laundry, stare at the screen, smile on cue, then do it all again. You start to forget you exist outside of tasks, outside of grocery lists, outside of them. You shrink. Just a little more every day. My husband? He's not a bad man. Just somewhere else. Always. In his phone. His work. His workouts. He used to ask how I was. Now he asks where the remote is. He kisses my cheek without looking, touches me like I'm made of cardboard. And the worst part is, I stopped noticing when it started. Then there was him. My husband's coworker. Younger. Louder. Eyes that didn't just look, They stayed. He'd come over for drinks or meetings or to drop off some file. But he always lingered a second too long. Said my name like it was a secret he wasn't supposed to know. The first time he called me beautiful, I laughed. Out of habit. Out of shock. I said, "Don't start." He grinned. Said, "Who says I'm starting?" I didn't tell anyone. Because it felt good. And wrong. And then good again. He was bold in small ways. Touching my hand when handing over a glass. Standing a little too close in the kitchen. Letting silence hang, thick and charged. And I let it happen. Because when you've been invisible for long enough, being seen feels like being saved. Then came the birthday. My husband's. We invited a few people over. Just drinks. Music. Laughter on the patio. The kids running barefoot in the grass. It was hot. One of those still, airless summer days where sweat clings and everything feels heavy. He came. Of course. Brought 2 friends with him, guys I'd never met. Said they were in town. Figured we wouldn't mind. I didn't. I barely paid attention at first. Until I caught one of them watching me too. Same eyes. Same grin. Same quiet language I thought only he and I spoke. At one point, I walked past him in the kitchen. He leaned in, voice low. Said, "We're heading upstairs in a bit. Come have a drink with us." I rolled my eyes. Laughed. Said, "Oh, I'm sure that's appropriate." He shrugged. Sipped his drink. And whispered, "What's appropriate doesn't always feel this alive." I walked away. But the words stayed. He joked once about me joining them upstairs. I laughed. I didn't know the joke would echo. The sun was starting to set, but the heat hadn't broken. People were sweating through their smiles. Kids were sticky with juice and cake. And my husband, he was already 2 beers in, laughing louder than usual, leaning on the same 3 stories he always told when people were around. We'd run out of drinks. He volunteered to go. Keys jingling, pecked my cheek, said, "Be back in 20. Just like that, he was gone. I stood by the sink, rinsing out a plastic cup, trying to remember the last time I felt like more than just background noise. That's when he came in. His coworker. He brushed past me with a wink, leaned on the counter like he lived there. "We've got more drinks upstairs," he said casually, like we'd done this before. "Come help me carry them down?" I smirked. Said, "You sure that's not just an excuse to get me alone?" He tilted his head, pretending to be shocked. Would I do that? He would. And I followed. It was stupid, maybe, but the house was full. The kids were outside. And I was tired of being boring. The stairs creaked under my bare feet. One step, then another. He went ahead of me, not rushing. Just sure. At the top, he turned, smiled, nodded toward a door. "Wait inside. I'll be right back." I paused. For 1 second, I stood there. Between the hallway and that room. Between the version of me everyone thought they knew, and the one that was suddenly curious. I opened the door. The light was low. Curtains half closed. Some music playing soft, heavy on the bass, like it was meant to move under the skin. And then I saw them. 2 men. Already there. Already watching. Not surprised. Not alarmed. Just ready. One sitting on the edge of the bed. The other in the armchair, sipping something dark from a glass. Neither spoke. They just looked at me, like I'd walked into a scene they'd been rehearsing. Something shifted in my chest. I felt it like a click. I should have turned around. Said something. Laughed it off. Pretended I was lost. But I didn't. Not yet. For a second, I thought maybe it was a joke. Some stupid prank. Some awkward mix-up. I hovered at the doorway, half in, half out, waiting for someone to laugh. To say, "Just kidding," or "Wrong room," or "We didn't think you'd actually come." But no one said anything. They just watched me. Not like I was a mistake. Not like I didn't belong. But like they'd been waiting for me. One of them smiled. Slow. Too slow. like he was reading something off my face that I hadn't even said out loud. The other raised a glass, tilted it toward me, offered a drink. My heart kicked up tight and erratic. My hands felt too big, too visible. I looked behind me, like I was checking for cameras or witnesses or something to grab onto. Nothing. Just the hallway I'd come from. The version of me that stayed downstairs. I could still hear the laughter outside. The sound of kids running. The clinking of ice in cups. Life, carrying on, unaware that something was breaking loose inside me. And then came the thought. The one I'd been pushing down for months. I hated feeling invisible more than I feared being judged. My husband used to see me. Really see me. Not just the chores I did or the dinner I made. Not just the body I folded into every night beside him like it didn't ache for more. But lately, I was wallpaper. Useful. Present. Silent. He didn't look at me the way this man looked at me. Or the way his friends were looking now. Like I was real. Like I was wanted. I took the glass. It trembled a little in my hand, but I smiled. Out of instinct. Out of panic. Out of the strange, growing ache that had nowhere else to go. The first sip was too strong. But I didn't stop. I stepped inside fully. The door clicked behind me. No one touched me. No one said anything inappropriate. They just made space for me, like I was meant to be there. And I let them. I sat. I listened. I laughed when they joked, even if I didn't catch all the words. I didn't flirt. But I didn't run either. Because something inside me had already crossed a line. And I didn't know if I was betraying my husband. Or just finally being seen for the first time in years. Time got strange in that room. The music pulsed under the floorboards like a heartbeat that wasn't mine. And the laughter, it came easily. Too easily. We weren't talking about anything important, just stories, jokes, the kind of things strangers say when they want to seem familiar. But the jokes started to shift. One of them made a comment about my dress. Not rude, just close enough to sting. He said it looked too good to be wasted on the people downstairs. The other laughed and added, I thought married women stopped looking like that. They didn't say it like an insult. They said it like they were noticing something I hadn't heard in years. I smiled. Or at least my face did. But my mind drifted. To my kitchen. To that quiet bowl of uneaten cereal I clear away every morning. To the laundry my husband never folds. To the way he turns away from me in bed without meaning to. That silence at home, it's not loud. It's not cruel. It's just constant. And cold. I was sitting there, listening to these men talk like I was a prize, and all I could feel was the void I came from. Then one of them shifted closer. Our knees brushed. Not by accident. He didn't move. Neither did I. He looked down at the space between us. Said nothing. Just stayed there. Another laugh. Another sip. Another something I didn't stop. Then his hand grazed my arm. Light. Careful. Like he was testing the air. I let it happen. It felt unreal. Like watching a movie. Like I was standing outside of myself, looking in at this woman who looked like me, sitting in a room that didn't belong to her, being touched like she was someone else. And I just stared at them, these three men. All of them waiting. All of them quiet. Like they knew. I opened my mouth, and the only thing that came out was, "What are we doing?" The man closest to me leaned in. No smirk. No game. Just stillness. Only what you want, he said. And that broke something. Not because it was seductive, but because I didn't know the answer. I didn't know what I wanted. To be held? To be punished? To be remembered? Before I could speak again, a knock. Not loud. Not rushed. But familiar. The front door. And just like that, everything in me went still. My husband was home. The knock pulled me out of the moment like a splash of cold water. My stomach dropped. My breath caught in my chest. I stood up too fast, the drink still in my hand, spilling down my wrist. No one stopped me. No one moved. They just watched. like they already knew how the story would go. I didn't look back as I stepped out, closed the door behind me, tried to breathe like I wasn't shaking. My feet were unsteady. My heart was racing. My hands numb. Down the hallway, down the stairs, each step louder than it should have been. Everything suddenly too bright, too sharp. Then I saw him. My husband. Out on the porch. Laughing. Beer in one hand, talking to our neighbor like nothing in the world was out of place. Like his wife hadn't just walked out of a room with 3 men waiting. I stood in the hallway, hidden just enough. Watched him from behind the curtains. He looked happy, relaxed, unaware. I hated how that made me feel. That night, I barely spoke. Told him I was tired. Went to bed before him. But I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling and saw the room. Not just the men, but how I felt in it. How alive the air felt. How I didn't want to leave. And I hated myself for it. My body was next to my husband. But my mind, it was back in that dim room with the music humming like a secret. I closed my eyes, and all I saw were their eyes. The next morning, he kissed me on the forehead. Told me he'd be home late. Work stuff. I nodded. Didn't ask questions. Midday, my phone buzzed. A message. From him. We're around again tonight. No pressure. I stared at it for a long time. Read it twice. 3 times. Felt my fingers shake. I typed, "I'll think about it." And then I thought about it all day. While folding towels. While boiling rice. While helping our daughter with her spelling homework. Every chore felt heavy. Every smile felt fake. I told him I was going to bed early again. He nodded, barely listening. When I heard the shower run, I slipped out. Quiet. Deliberate. The house was still. Dark. I drove with no music. Just silence. And the sound of my own heartbeat. When I reached the house, I didn't knock. He opened the door before I could. Like he knew I was coming. Same stairs. Same hallway. Same room. Dim lights. Low music. Only one of them this time, at first. I didn't speak. I didn't ask what we were doing. Because I knew. I stepped inside. And this time, I didn't stop. The next morning, the sun felt too bright. The sheets too warm. My body sore in places I didn't expect. I showered before anyone else woke up. Scrubbed harder than usual. Not because I felt dirty, but because I didn't know how to feel at all. The water ran over my face, hot and sharp, but it didn't burn the memory out. I could still feel the weight of their hands. Still hear the music. Still see the look in his eyes right before I said yes, without saying anything. I dried off slowly. Moved through the house like I was walking underwater. My husband kissed my cheek in the kitchen. Half awake. Half distracted. Mouth still tasting like coffee. He didn't look at me. Didn't really see me. Just moved on. And in that moment, something inside me broke quietly. Not from guilt, but from the confirmation. He didn't notice. Not the late-night drive. Not the shift in my voice. Not the silence I was holding like a scream. He didn't ask. My phone buzzed. I didn't need to check who it was. No name. Just 4 words. That was unforgettable. I stared at it. My thumb hovered. And then I deleted it. No reply. No hesitation. Just gone. But it didn't feel gone. I went about the day like I was playing a version of myself. Making breakfast. Folding clothes. Pretending I hadn't crossed a line I used to believe was sacred. But everything felt off. Tilted. Like I was a second too slow for my own life. My daughter showed me a drawing. A messy, crayon-colored version of our family. I smiled. Told her it was beautiful. She beamed. And I felt like a stranger. My laugh came out, thin and shaky. She didn't notice. But I did. I watched my son chase bubbles in the backyard. Watched my husband mow the lawn like nothing in the world had changed. And maybe for them, it hadn't. But for me, everything had cracked open. I kept touching my wrist that day, where someone's hand had been the night before. Not out of longing, not out of shame, just to remember that I still felt something. I had been disappearing for so long, fading in plain sight. And now? Now I was fractured. But I wasn't numb anymore. It wasn't about lust. Not really. It was about loneliness. The kind that doesn't show up all at once, but creeps in slowly. In the spaces between what you say and what you mean. In the nights where you lie beside someone who used to reach for you, and now just turns away. I used to think I was strong, loyal, untouchable. But strength isn't about what you say you'd never do. It's about what you do when the silence in your life gets louder than your own voice. And my silence had been screaming for years. I don't know who to blame. My husband, for not noticing the way I was fading? Myself. For not yelling louder when I started to disappear? Or maybe it was the way we both stopped reaching. He used to ask how my day was. Used to touch my back when I was washing dishes, kiss my neck when I was brushing my teeth. Now we move around each other like polite roommates. I didn't mean to destroy anything. I just wanted to feel something real, to feel wanted, to feel like my body still meant something, that I could still make a choice and have it ripple. I went back. Yes. After that first time, I swore I wouldn't. But I did. Not right away. But eventually. The second time felt different. Less shocking. More deliberate. And after that, I stopped. For a while. But I wanted to go again. Still want to some days. I see his name on my phone. Deleted, but not forgotten. I see his face in the crowd, even when I know he's not there. I don't know what that says about me. I don't know if that makes me broken, or just human. But I haven't told anyone. Not my sister. Not my best friend. Not even the mirror. Because if I say it out loud, then it becomes real in a way I'm not ready for. But I still think about that room, more than I should. Have you ever almost done something, not because it was right, but because it made you feel real? Have you ever stood at the edge of a choice, not knowing if it would save you or ruin you, but stepped forward anyway, just to know what it felt like to be seen? Have you ever felt guilt, wrapped in relief? Like shame tangled up with something that felt like breath? Because I have. And if you're still listening, maybe you have too. Speech balloon, tell me. Not for permission. Not for forgiveness. But for the simple, aching truth of it. Drop your truth in the comments. Even the parts you're scared of. And if this story stirred something in you, subscribe to Heartfelt Tales Unfold. The next one might echo a truth you've never dared to say aloud. There's a room upstairs in that house. The light in there is different. Still dim. Still warm. Still waiting. I walk past it now every time we visit. Every time there's another gathering, another excuse to pretend everything is fine. I smile. I pour drinks. I laugh in the right places. And I pass that door like it's just a wall. Like I don't remember what it feels like to stand on the other side of it, not knowing who I am anymore. The silence in my marriage still lingers. It's quieter now, but heavier. Some nights, he holds me. And I wonder if he knows. If he feels the distance I stitched back together with a lie and a steady hand. And sometimes, when the house is quiet and I'm folding laundry or rinsing a glass at the sink, I still think about that room. And I wonder, did I ruin everything? Or did I just expose what was already broken? I don't have the answer. Maybe I never will. All I know is this. The door may be shut now, but I never locked it.